Talking with the experts.
In episode 283, Dominique Hart discusses how to create a visual brand that sells.
You touched on that because it's such a great example. Even in the way that your name is written in your logo, as we're having conversations and as people hear you speak and talk about your expertise, they'll begin to identify you in your logo and the way that it was designed. The way that it is designed is the visual brand, because someone else can be called Rose and their logo looks completely different. And you guys might be best friends with how much you guys are identical, but there's something about that Rose that is different from you, right? That Rose might be a spunky old gal. She might even choose a different flower to represent her brand. She loves flowers just like you, but she chooses a different one because it communicates something else that's unique about her that a rose just doesn't quite do. Where rose for you is so befitting, not only because it's your name, like you said, but it also represents your elegance, right? It represents your tone. It represents the richness, right? That is unmatched, right?
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And do you know what visual brand is? Do you know how to use your visual brand to sell? Well, visual branding is the core branding element that your prospective audience sees when they first interact with you. And my next guest, Dominique Hart, is an international visual branding strategist, dynamic speaker, serial entrepreneur, CEO and founder of Dominique Endeavours, and a six-figure real estate investor, all by the age of 30. Now she's empowering entrepreneurs worldwide on how they can elevate their business through the power of dynamic brand design. Welcome, Dominique, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Rose. I'm so happy to be here.
So tell me a little bit about what is a visual brand and how can we use it in our business to grow?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite questions because usually sometimes people get branding and visual branding kind of mixed up, right? They're like, wait, I've always heard about branding. What's this visual branding you speak of, Dominique? And it's basically the art and science of incorporating marketing and strategy into the visual aspects that you grow to know and love about brands that you hold near and dear to you, right? So every visual component of your brand is what makes up your visual brand. In our world in dynamic endeavors, we take those elements to really help you to create a brand experience, right? One that really envelops your customers and your clients and really creates a whole world, right? All around them, whether it be from getting your business card or to your getting to your website or your landing page or your social media strategies, your Instagram reels, right? That's really, really popular nowadays, right? So all of these visual components that draws people to you so that you can convert them to sales. This is the power of visual branding. And you might not even see all of the subconscious ways that you're even exuding a lot of these elements, but I guarantee you're using them. And in my agency, Dynamic Endeavors, we teach everyone how to do that and execute it on their behalf, whether they be small business owners or corporations.
But so I guess what makes up a visual brand? You know, what are the elements?
Yeah, so many different elements that make up a visual brand. But I'm going to give you like a core 3 or core 4. How does that sound?
Sure.
Awesome. So one of the main elements is, of course, we talk about the good old logo, right? But I start with the logo because I want to expand your mind. I want you to expand your mind past your logo, because your logo doesn't do it when it comes to your brand. It's the essence of the brand. It's how you communicate that brand. It's the tone and voice in which you speak about that brand, right? This all creates those brand elements that really make your brand pop, right? So it's the visual components, it's the logo, it's the design aesthetics, it's the maybe the way, for my YouTubers out there, maybe it's the way you cut and edit your videos, right? For my social media people out there, maybe it's the way you're presenting and posting your reels and your posts and your live streams, right? Maybe it's the background, right? This is all by design, guys, right? I'm giving you my little secrets, right? But this is all by design. Why? To create an experience in a virtual and in-person type of world that we live in. And so you also have vision, you have your visual for sure, but you also have audible aspects to your visual brand. Dominique, now you're talking about audible, you're talking about sound and things of that nature. What does that have to do with what I see? Well, if you're listening to a podcast like this one, right, you might be one of those people that likes to listen to it on the go. So you might not be able to watch, but you can listen. Guess what happens, guys? And there's plenty of studies to show this. As you listen, you're creating a visual image in your brain about what you're hearing, who you're listening to. You're imagining, if they're in their home, you're imagining what their home could look like, right? If they're in a studio, you're imagining what that studio might look like. If you've seen the studio version of what you're listening to, but you're only listening to the audio aspect of it, you're envisioning that scene, that presence, that conversation happening in that physical setting. That all of this is mentally taking place in your mind. Why? Because as humans, we crave experiences. So I'm touching on a few things here, but I say that to stretch your brain. Also, it's in the words you use. Why do you say that, Dominique? Well, when you go to any website, when you go to any landing page, any of those things that require copy, that require words, that allows you to explain the vision and the essence of that brand, you need words to communicate that. And guess what also happens, guys? You guessed it. Your mind is starting to picture what this person sounds like. Your mind is starting to picture what your experience is going to be like. Will I even like this person? Is this person speaking my language? Can I even see myself having a cup of tea with this person? Right? These are the things that you might be thinking, or for my guys out there shooting hoops, right? Going to the bars, right? Whatever your thing may be, watching the game. Right? Can you see yourself really bonding with this person to create whatever dynamic endeavor you are trying to create? So those are a few elements of a visual brand that I want to touch on, but I hope that helps to create that picture that, oh, wait, it is more than my logo. I need to think about this in a grander scheme. And yes, if you are thinking that, you're on the right track.
Okay, so I know that a lot of people confuse brand with branding. So could you please explain the difference between what a brand is and what branding is? I mean, I know what they are, but a lot of other people don't say, oh, this is my brand, or I'm going to brand something.
Yes.
When they should be using branding rather than brand.
Yeah. So I'm going to add another layer to that. So we got the brand, then we got the branding, but then we're also going to have the visual brand. Yeah. So your brand is your moniker in the world. It's your way, it's your stamp in the world. It's the defining aspects of who your brand is, right? And I say who your brand is because even for those of you who feel like, well, I'm not really connected to my brand, so to speak, this kind of sits apart from me. That's fine. Guess what? Your brand is still, think of it like a person. It is still like a person because it has a way of communicating. It has morals. It has a vision. It has a mission, right? It has these things that humans have, but it's in a third party form. But again, it still goes back to creating that brand experience, right? Creating that brand experience for your customers and your clients. So your brand is, how do I plan on making my stamp in this world? How do I plan on being remembered in this world? Your branding is the application of such knowledge, is the application of such such vision. Yeah. And so that comes down to defining what that is and it being infused into every area of your business. Branding is also how you are communicating with your team. Think about it. I know Zappos was really, if you've ever bought from Zappos or know the brand or really like into it, it's this amazing shoe company, but they did so much more than that. And because they were passionate about their mission and their values, and everyone under that umbrella embodied that. That's branding. Right? That's taking the essence of what those core values are and infusing it into the company. That's the act of applying such knowledge. Yes? Okay. Visual branding takes that act and gives it an image. It gives it a face. It gives it the experience that we all strive for, that we all should be striving for in our businesses. And so that helps people to identify those core values you've identified in your brand, how you've applied it in your business, in your branding, and now gives it a face for people to say, I don't know what it is about that company, but I really like it. I don't know what it is about her, but I want to hear more of what she has to say. I don't know what it is about this particular website. I don't know what it is about this particular company, but you know what? I'm willing to give them a shot. I'm willing to get on the phone with them. I have a feeling. I got something in my gut. They don't know all the work you did behind that, but in their gut, I feel like they'll be able to solve my problem. I feel like they get me. So that's the brand. Then the application of that is the branding, and the visual branding of that is taking all of what has been established and giving it a face, giving it an identity, because that's really what it is. It's brand design in its glory.
And so my understanding of brand is the brand is the person, the company, and the branding is the marketing part of that brand. And visual branding, as you say, is the visual component. So it's what people see, how they perceive the person, the marketing, and sort of the visual bit ties everything in together. So that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You've hit it spot on. Yeah, that brand is, how do I want to be identified in this world? The branding is the application of that. The visual brand is, how do I communicate that to the world visually?
Yeah, so visual branding is very important. So, so your logo has to, I guess, identify you with your brand. So, like my logo's got a rose under it because I love roses. My name's Rose, and my favorite colors are gold and purple.
Yes.
So that identifies me because purple is a really great color. Gold means it's luxurious, and I love luxury. Even I can't afford it, but I love luxury anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
So I market myself, using those really cool colors, and so the visual part of it is how people perceive me. So that's putting it into context on make it easier for other people to understand. Because
absolutely,
it's really important that you tie the three together.
Yes. And even let's go back to your brand, because I love that you touched on that, because it's such a great example. Even in the way that your name is written in your logo, as we're having conversations and as people hear you speak and talk about your expertise, they'll begin to identify you in your logo and the way that it was designed. The way that it is designed is the visual brand, because someone else can be called Rose and their logo looks completely different. And you guys might be best friends with how much you guys are identical, but there's something about that Rose that is different from you, right? That Rose might be a spunky old gal. She might even choose a different flower to represent her brand. She loves flowers just like you, but she chooses a different one because it communicates something else that's unique about her that a rose just doesn't quite do. Where rose for you is so befitting, not only because it's your name, like you said, but it also represents your elegance, right? It represents your tone. It represents the richness, right? That is unmatched, right? And so even in the way it's written, it's really in this beautiful cursive kind of way. It could have been in a really harsh, tone. It could have been Times New Roman, right? We don't usually design logos in Times New Roman, but for someone else, that might be perfect, right? But for you, it would be like, that doesn't quite represent me, especially as a personal brand, right? And so the way in which we communicate who we are matters, because then as people get to know you beyond, right? Beyond just the website or the business card or the social media, as they further interact with you because you've drawn them in, they will begin to see, oh, I completely get her branding now. Like, this is so, like, this totally makes sense. Oh, I love her even more. That is the effect we want to create with our audience, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to be known as the lady with the rose.
Yes.
They just remember the flower, and then they will remember who I am. So that was the whole point behind it. So
yeah.
And so I think I've hit the nail on the head this time.
Oh, indeed.
Indeed. Dominique, I need to ask you, have you written a book about, your strategies at all?
Oh, so interesting that you mentioned that. So I am literally in the process of writing not one, but 2 books. And I'm so excited about them. I'll be sharing with everyone how they can pre-order. People are just like clamoring in my DMs on social media, and they're just like, please tell us when you launch this book, because I need it. And I definitely want to take, I specifically remember one of my speaking engagements before the pandemic in all of its glory. I remember in one of my speaking engagements, I came off stage and I was at my table, people were signing up to work with us at Dynamic Endeavors and everything. And one of them said, have you written a book on this? Because I would love to read this on the train. Now, I am in the New York City area. There's trains and buses and all kinds of transportation around here, right? So a lot of people, whether it be high corporate executives or the everyday person, we take trains and buses around here gloriously. And so that was one of the requests. And so the answer is yes. I'm so excited about it. One of them is actually about branding 101, but of course, from my dynamic take on things. And then another is literally on the core elements of a visual brand that we were talking about. And so I go over in the book about the visual components and what components of the brand you need to make sure that you have incorporated in your business. I go over the visual, the audible aspects of your visual brand and what you need to consider when choosing to go that route or incorporate it into your business. I'm not going to give all of the juicy secrets away, but I also have some other good surprise elements that you might not even think about. And I can't wait until you guys get your hands on it. It's going to be so, so good. But to keep in contact,
sounds like it. Yeah.
Yes,
I look forward to reading them. They sound really great.
Yes. And so just to keep in contact, guys, definitely head over to dominiquehart.com/free MP3. That's my gift to you. It's a free audio training. I hope I can share that with everyone. I'm just such a giver. Feel free to head on over there and head into that audio training. I touch on vision and brand vision in that audio training, and really how to stop, put a real true stop to really pretty website syndrome is really what I want to call it. How do we stop the act of having this pretty website that doesn't really work for our bottom line in the end, right? How do we put a stop to that? So I talk about some really good juicy stuff in there. So can't wait for you guys to dig in there. And when it launches, my list, my dynamic creators are going to be the first ones to know. I can't wait.
Absolutely. So where can people find you, Dominique, if they want to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can absolutely head over to dominiquehart.com. You can learn more about my platform there, all of the different areas that I speak on, especially if you want to bring this beautiful conversation that we're having today about visual branding to your audience, to your podcast, to your stages, to your events. That is absolutely fine. Just head on over there and contact my team. We'd be happy to hear from you and happy to talk with you. And they'll be happy to walk you through how to get me to you, whether
And
that be virtually or in person.
that's it. And, you are absolutely dynamic. So your business name suits you perfectly.
Thank you. And for those who are really interested in saying, how do I create this dynamic brand experience from a visual branding standpoint with our company, with our brand, with our business, or even my own personal brand, Dominique, head on over to dynamicendeavors.com. And in my world, in our world here at Dynamic Endeavors, dynamic is always spelled with a K. So it's DYNAMIK Endeavors, ENDEAVORS. I got you guys. .com. And so for my international crew, it's Endeavors with an ORS. So that's DYNAMIK ENDEAVORS.com. And you can absolutely set up a one-on-one conversation. I'd be happy to talk to you. And so that we can see how we can help you create your dynamic endeavor.
Well, absolutely amazing. And thank you so much for sharing all of that great information, Dominique.
Yes.
Any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Oh, absolutely, guys. Operate with strategy and most importantly, operate with kingdom vision in your businesses. It's going to take you far and wide in places you've never thought possible. And that is what I call a dynamic endeavor.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing all of that information with us today. And I'm hoping that someone will pop over and check out your MP3 and take advantage of your generous offer.
Absolutely. I can't wait to welcome you all. Thank you so much for having me today, Rose. I really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.